Patriarchy Hannah was a prominent X account that promoted the Tradwife lifestyle, as well as so-called patriarchal marriage. She was propped up by a lot of the patriarchy bros on X, but it turns out she wasn't a real person at all, or at least that is what is being reported by those who have dug into the claims that she has made. And oh my goodness, what a tangled web Hannah, or Jennifer, has woven. And for those of you who really wanted me to get into another dramatic scenario that was unraveling on X this week, and Ashley St. Clair and Elon Musk, we will get to that tomorrow. But I had to dedicate an entire episode to Patriarchy Hannah because there is so much here. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com. Use code Allie at checkout. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Hey guys, welcome to Relatable. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. All right, we've got so much to get into. Quick shout out to Share the Arrows 2025, October 11th in Dallas, Texas. Get your tickets at sharethearrows.com on February 28th. That is when the early bird pricing is available to the general public. If you want to get access to that limited number of early bird tickets, then sign up for Blaze TV if you want to get early access to them. blazetv.com/Allie. Go ahead and subscribe. You'll get a discount. You get access to all the behind the paywall content that all Blaze TV hosts produce. Plus, you will get early access to those discounted early bird tickets for Share the Arrows. All right, that's it for announcements. Let's go ahead and get into this crazy story of Patriarchy Hannah. Now, many of you probably haven't even heard of Patriarchy Hannah, or maybe you heard about her for the first time in the last 48 hours. This is a story that I will say is near and dear to my heart, or maybe is personal to me, because this person, Patriarchy Hannah, did not like me very much. She and her gang of Theo bros always talked about how Allie Stuckey was a secret feminist, yada, yada. Well, it turns out this Patriarchy Hannah influencer who had a podcast and had amassed about 30,000 followers on X does not seem to be a real person at all. She not only is not really a tradwife, she also apparently isn't really a mother. She said that she was a traditional patriarchal wife and mother of 14, some biological, some adopted and fostered, but it seems through the digging of a very vigilant researcher on X that she is actually a single 37-year-old woman living in Arkansas who made up the whole identity and deceived thousands of her followers. There were several people digging into this, a few different accounts, but the thread that went viral on X was authored by X user Ryan Duff. And so I am going to tell you who she is based on the information that she has given, both her persona and who she actually is based on the research of Ryan Duff. Now, this is a developing story, and if I always do my best to be as truthful as possible, to give every angle that I possibly can, to be as fair as possible, even as charitable as possible. But as this develops and as we learn more, I may have to come back and correct something, hopefully not, or add something or give additional context. But I am just going to tell you what we know and what has been reported. And there are many things, assertions that have been made about this person that I will not say, even though I think they are interesting hypotheses, but I don't think there is enough to substantiate or corroborate them. It's just hearsay. And so I'm going to avoid that speculation until there is more. So just know that I could make this a lot more salacious than I'm going to, but I really just want to stick with the most substantial stuff. So first, who is this persona, Patriarchy Hannah? We'll put up what her X profile looks like. I mean, to me, okay, like it just looks like a gimmick right away. Like we see that it's an animated picture of a person, and then we've got the Patriarchal Wives Club as the banner of her X page. Graphic design is my passion style, whole 3 holy Bibles in the middle, like cattywampus. It almost seems like she's trolling. Like this is a parody of what, I don't know, someone thinks a patriarchal wife should look like. So she grew to be a social media influencer. Again, she portrayed herself as someone embracing this patriarchal belief system. She would always go to bat for these patriarchal theo bros. She never revealed her face. She hid behind this avatar in her profile picture. She said a while ago, this is how we know she claimed to have 14 kids. She said herself on her handle is Harmonized Grace. Her name that she uses, the moniker on her page, is Patriarchy Hannah. One of her posts before she deleted her account altogether a couple days ago, she said 14 kids, and I never once needed an epidural or complained about the pain. Well, good for you, Hannah. Birth does feel a lot better when you've never done it before. According to her post, Hannah has a husband named Tony who had his own X account and owns a construction company in their town, which she calls Tony Town. And I thought that this was a hilarious tidbit. This also seems to be an intentional troll. She gained, what I already said, a pretty large following, almost 30,000 followers. Some examples of her content: she had a podcast called Patriarchy Country. And again, it just seems almost like a skit. The description that she has of this podcast, I'm pretty sure that she scrubbed everything now and taken it down, which if none of this were true, she's simultaneously saying that it's not true that she's a fake person while also taking everything down. That just doesn't really add up to me. But the description said, "Welcome to biblical patriarchy country where the sandwiches are always made and the women are encouraged to have personalities. We are pulling back the curtain on what life is like when you're a member of the Patriarchal Wives Club and talking all things church culture, motherhood, and homemaking. Meet the biblical housewives of Twitter." Okay, here is some content from her now deleted X account. She posted regularly about women lacking discernment compared to men. And we will get back to the irony of that statement in just a bit. She said women act like having children. She also said this is not, exactly the lacking discernment part, but she'll say things like this. Women act like having children is an excuse to gain weight. It's not. I have 14 children and never lost my figure once. People are appalled that my husband has a weight range that he expects me to stay in. But what they don't know is that if he doesn't work out for 2 days, I start giving him a hard time. The couple that fat shames together stays attractive together. I'm going to have to chill out or I'm going to gain too much weight. LOL. But he says I get a new phone if I stay in my ideal weight range for 3 months. That is so disturbing. If someone actually has a marriage relationship like that, there's a pattern in a lot of these so-called patriarchy trad accounts that you will see that the dynamic that is described between the husband and wife is really more similar to a father and daughter. And that is when it takes on, and this is real. I don't know if Patriarchy Hannah was a part of this or not, but you'll see this on TikTok. It has fetishistic undertones, okay? And I called this out in, I think, May of 2023 was the first episode that we did on it, and a lot of you agreed with the message, but I caught a ton of heat for saying that any part of the trad life aesthetic trend on social media might not be real and might actually just be a fad and might actually just be personas that these women are taking on to make themselves feel better, to make other people feel bad. I was told that's not a problem. We shouldn't talk about that by the very Theo bros that got their ego stroked by Patriarchy Hannah, as we'll get into in just a minute. I was told that's not a problem. You're just projecting your internalized feminism on other people, when I was just trying to say, look, like some of this is not real. Traditional lives are real and they are great, but a lot of the content that you are seeing focusing on this is not real, and they're made by people who aren't real. And I've been saying that for almost 2 years now and have been incessantly called by people like Patriarchy Hannah a feminist for pointing out this obviously true fact that she apparently also played a part in. She said on X, I don't understand the concept of having theological differences with your husband. If my husband tells me that something in the Bible means something different than I thought, I just accept that he's right. Okay, like you're allowed to have a brain. I mean, I very much respect my husband's wisdom, and he teaches our Sunday school and he is great at it. And we love having discussions. But if we have a disagreement about a passage, it's not a lack of submission. We have a lot of fun discussing those things and debating those things and looking at those things from a different angle, because my husband actually married a woman, a wife, and not this weird relationship where the woman is not allowed to have a brain and is not allowed to talk about her perspective on things. Patriarchy Hannah says, if your husband isn't capable of violence, you don't have a husband, you have a wife. Weird thing to say. Some things that she said about me specifically, we'll get into those in a second. Let me go ahead and pause, tell you about our first sponsor for the day. It's Carly Jean Los Angeles. I love CJLA. I love all of the clothes from CJLA. They make me feel good in every season of life, in every season of the year, no matter how much I weigh, whether I'm pregnant or postpartum. I can always find something at CJLA that makes me feel really good in my skin. I also love that this is a family-owned, Christian-owned company. Carly and her family, they're the real deal. And I'm wearing their jeans right now because of course I am. I'm also wearing one of their tank tops that I wear all of the time. These are wide leg pants that I think are super flattering and they really go with everything. Their denim is just amazing. I hardly ever wear jeans from anywhere else except for CJLA. Go to carlyjeanlosangeles.com, use code AllieB. You'll get 20% off their entire site with my code. carlyjeanlosangeles.com, code AllieB. So last year, in particular, I think it was the beginning of 2024 or was it the beginning of 2023? I think it was the beginning of 2024. Gosh, the past few years have been such a blur. Where I think it was maybe the beginning of 24, where I did another big episode on the red pill version of Christianity and some of the pitfalls of this kind of weird trad world online. And this is when I was also being called a girl boss and blah, blah, blah. And she also, she came out swinging during that time, agreeing that I was a feminist. People shouldn't be listening to my podcast. But then in fall of last year, after Share the Arrows, she made fun of the name Share the Arrows and was like, I don't even know what that means. You can read. I think it's possible for you to just look it up and it's really not that hard to figure out. But she said, sorry, guys, I totally forgot that I'm not allowed to criticize ABS in any way because she's a modern day golden calf for many women. I forgot that if I do, said women will bring in totally irrelevant and incorrect facts to the argument, like that I want postpartum women to wait on their husbands. I have no idea. What's that even referring to? Because honestly, I didn't pay attention to this woman. This is all stuff that I have now seen in the past few days as I've been researching this. This made a lot of people mad when I said last year that I don't believe that women should be pastors. Of course, they agree with that. And that it is about calling, not necessarily capability, actual ability to deliver a sermon physically, rhetorically. I said, yes, I can physically do that. I know that that I like to talk, that I am pretty good, hopefully, at communicating, and I love the Bible, and I can apply that in a way that makes sense. And I said, even if I am capable of doing that, I know I'm not called to do that. I am physically capable of delivering a better sermon than probably a lot of men in the country. I'm thinking about the false teachers. Of course, that is true. A lot of women are capable of that, but we are not called to preach to men. We are not called to the office of pastor. They were really mad that I said that I was capable at all of doing it, that I shouldn't say that. She retweeted some tweets criticizing me for that. She also said, here's the thing about internalized feminism. She's talking about me in this debate. You don't think you have it, and then something happens and you realize you do. Okay, see, this is so funny because this is the exact same thing that BLM activists said about white fragility. Like, you don't know that you are a white supremacist. You don't know that you have white fragility until something happens to you, and then it kind of just, it sparks up, and then you have to combat it. And all these people are secretly just fragile because they don't agree with BLM and critical race theory. I mean, she probably should write. She's probably good friends with Robin DiAngelo. It's all the same thing. She said, she doesn't think it's wrong for women to have podcasts. Well, that's good because you have a podcast, or she did have a podcast. She said, I do think there's a way that it should be done in a bold line that won't be crossed. She's not crossing that bold line, but relatable with Allie Beth Stuckey apparently is. Someone named Brian said on X, simply saying that I have the capability of a man to preach is a prime example of deception. And Patriarchy Hannah said, the men get it. And she said lots of other things about me being a, secret feminist and blah, 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 blah. It's so funny. I had a guest on the other day who brought a family member with her. And this family member told me, she was so sweet and so kind, and she was talking about how she's been listening to the podcast for a long time. And she said, before I started listening to your podcast, my best friend and I, we were girl boss, feminist, don't need no man all the way. And then as we started listening, God started softening our hearts, and now we are both stay-at-home wives and moms and like super traditional and completely changed. I don't take credit for that. I don't have the capability to change hearts, but God has the capability to change hearts, and a tree is known by its fruit. I can't tell you how many people have told me by the grace of God that through listening to this podcast, they decided to have children. They decided to have more children. They decided not to abort their child. They decided, again, by the grace and providence of God, to become a Christian, to get married, and to live a completely different life than the secular or functionally secular life they were living before. And a lot of these people in this patriarchy camp accuse me of either being a feminist girl boss myself or trying to get other women to do that, when that is not at all the fruit of this podcast. And really, if you look at the tone of people like Patriarchy Hannah and those in her circle who talk like this constantly about women and how awful women are, and how everyone who is not them, every woman who is not them, is really just internalized feminists and all of this stuff, is that really those people are extremely aggressive. Like, the women in these patriarchy trad circles on X are extremely masculine or extremely aggressive. They spend their days stroking the ego of the patriarchy Theo bros on X, chatting with them, going back and forth with them. I would say probably even by definition, flirting with these men. And the men in these circles are extremely catty and are extremely gossipy and are extremely sensitive. And both sides are preaching about what a strong man should be and what a soft woman should be. And none of them exemplify that at all. We'll get into some more specific details about that in a second. So let's look at this evidence. Is this a real person? Ryan Duff says no. So the most recent update before we even get into his thread on Ryan Duff, he shared an X Spaces chat with Bethany Mandel and Abby Libby last night that his initial tip to looking into this person was a mutual friend who shared information from an anonymous X account making claims about Patriarchy Hannah's true identity. Skilled at finding records, Duff said that he began to investigate other women who were close to her, like Abby Libby. I did not know that Abby Libby was close to her. Began to suspect that she may not be who she said she was. Patriarchy Hannah appears to be, according to Ryan Duff, Jennifer Bays, a 37-year-old single woman who Hannah claimed was her cousin. Hannah and Bays have the exact same birthday to the year. Katie Johnson posted this on X. Genuine question, Hannah. All of this could be easily cleared up. I know behind the scenes you claim Jennifer Bays is a cousin. How is it that you have the exact same birthday to the day? I'm honestly trying to clear it up. Everyone wants it cleared up. And Hannah said, Oh, so people are still leaking private info. Cousins never have the same birthday. So, very weird response. That was before she deleted her ex account. Well, here's Ryan's evidence. He dug into this. So first, he looked at Hannah's house, a house that she had posted a picture of. He just went through her posts, the things that she had said about herself, the pictures she had posted, the information that she had given, and then he looked to try to verify that information, and he found some really interesting stuff. So in November 2023, Hannah posted on X that she had just built a house in Tonytown. That's, I guess, what she calls the area where her husband builds in. Remember, Tonytown is the name, apparently, of her husband's construction company, for her son and soon-to-be daughter-in-law. However, the picture that she shared was not built by her husband and his friends, but was actually built by a custom home builder for another person. Ryan Duff found this. The house matches the Google Street View and satellite imagery down to the propane tank in the side yard and the stairs down into the river. Property records confirm it was built by a woman and her sister in 2020 for their mother, who has since passed in 2023. So Ryan dug into the property records. He looked at Google Street View to try to figure out who actually owned the house in the picture that she had posted. Found out it was not actually her, but Jennifer Bays, the person that she seems to be. Her parents do own property across the river from the house she pictured, so she would have had access to take a picture of the house with the river pictured as above. I really encourage you to watch this on YouTube if you're just listening. When people called Hannah/Jennifer out on this particular thing, she ended up deleting that post with the picture of the house. And then here is like the crux of it. Here is where this person, Jennifer Bays, actually comes in, and how Ryan Duff figured out that Hannah is probably this person named Jennifer Bays. And that has to do with an Amazon receipt. So Jennifer, or Hannah, hosts a Discord channel where she talks to other women. She gives them homemaking advice, marriage advice. And one of the women in the Discord group had a baby. She got a stroller from Amazon that was a gift from Hannah. But the Amazon receipt that was posted said from Jennifer. And it had an address that was in Arkansas. Well, Ryan Duff tracked down the address on the Amazon receipt and connected them to a family called the Bays family, specifically an address of a person named JoLynn Bays. Well, when he dug into who JoLynn Bays is, she is the mother of someone named Jennifer Bays, who again has the exact same birthday as Patriarchy Hannah, and whose parents, JoLynn, own the property that is across from the house that Patriarchy Hannah had posted a picture of and said that her husband, Tonytown, had built that. Like, are you tracking with me? It's pretty confusing, but this person has pieced it all together. And it's even, another hurdle for me to have to explain it, to describe it. And then there's the Louisiana house, which I'll explain in just a second. Let me go ahead and pause and tell you about our second sponsor, and that is Cozy Earth. You guys know how much I love Cozy Earth and my sheets from Cozy Earth. My bamboo sheet set is just amazing. It is so soft. It's temperature regulating. I stay cool all night. I don't like sleeping on any other bed with any other sheets because I have been spoiled rotten by my luxurious sheets from Cozy Earth. I also absolutely love their pajamas and loungewear. I could just live in this stuff. It is so comfortable, super high quality, makes a really good gift too, whether it's a wedding gift or whether it's just for your significant other. I love all the stuff from Cozy Earth. Go to cozyearth.com/relatable. With my code relatable, you get up to 40% off. I think that's like the biggest discount of any sponsor I have on the show. So take advantage of it. cozyearth.com/relatable, code relatable. Okay, we've got the Louisiana house. A few years ago, Hannah/Jennifer shared an address with some of the ladies in that Discord group. Property records on that address showed an LLC listed as the owner. Louisiana business search records show that LLC to be owned by Jennifer's parents. We've already met Jolynn Bays, but also Bobby Bays. She also shared a picture in her Discord, which just happens to match the Zillow pictures for that address. Hannah/Jennifer did the same thing with another house that records show belongs to Bobby and Jolynn Bays. Now, what about her husband, Tony? There's no evidence that Tony exists aside from a barely used X account. Jennifer's father is the one who actually owns a construction company. Her grandmother's obituary. Hannah's grandmother passed away, she announced, but it was the exact same day that Jennifer Bays' grandmother passed away, and that was verified, again, through an online obituary. According to the obituary, the grandmother only had 3 great-grandchildren, not close to the 14 children that Hannah claims to have and would be her grandmother's great-grandchildren. Now, Hannah's face, we've already said that she hid behind an avatar. Multiple people have spoken to Hannah on the phone or via a podcast interview, but she has always denied requests to video chat reportedly, so people have never seen her face to face. Now, at one point, Hannah was asked for proof of who she was, so she provided a photo. She provided this photo. We'll put it up. But then it was actually discovered that the photo she used was a Facebook profile photo from someone named Allison Brown. As far as we know, a complete and total stranger. So obviously not her. Hannah may have also run the account of her husband, Tony. There is the account that was apparently his, What's Good, It's Tea. He posted this in March of last year: without my wife, I would die. Without me, my wife would die. It's not because of what we do for each other. She is me. Let the reader understand. Is this some cryptic, freaky way to say that she is actually Tony? Like this Jennifer Bays person is running his account? Now, who is actually Jennifer Bays? If this is really Patriarchy Hannah, I think it's important to know who Jennifer Bays is. According to Harris County records, a warrant was issued for Jennifer Bays for issuing worthless checks. This was reported by Katie, the Berean Millennial. A newspaper clip from the Lafayette Daily Advertiser in 2011 showed that Jennifer Bays, 24, was arrested for identity theft. Possible family criminal history too. She has a brother/sister. Okay, so this is someone, apparently a woman who identifies as a man, was arrested 2 years ago for exposing children to pornography, which is really sad, and an account that is assumed to also be run by Jennifer. Dr. Roxo says targeting Leo, the brother/sister, will put crosshairs on your back. Expect us. Expect vengeance, which is very troubling. This was actually like 2 days ago that this person posted this. And if you look into this person, this Jennifer Bays' sister/brother, it is true that her sex is recorded as female in the prison system. You can look at the mugshot. Obviously, this person has been on testosterone for a long time. And it is confirmed in the Bays' grandparents' obituaries that Jennifer goes from having one sister, Elizabeth, to having one brother named Leo. So that apparently changed over time. If you do a Facebook search of this person, you can see that the mugshot picture also matches the picture in his profile. So there's also been a lot of skepticism surrounding Patriarchy Hannah from people who actually liked her, followed her. A fellow Trad account, Mother Goose, who goes by Trad Mother, pointed out that the screenshots of Hannah's supposed conversations with family were missing timestamps. She would post messages back and forth with her kids, but they don't look like they are genuine because they're missing timestamps. Although I don't know, this wouldn't have been an iPhone, so this is not iMessage. I don't know if timestamps are typical. I don't know. Bree, do you know what kind of messaging platform she would be using here that would have timestamps?
I think this looks like just a normal Android text message. I saw someone responding to it with a screenshot from their own, and it does look like there are timestamps normally, unless maybe they're like straight back to back messages. But I think typically an Android does have at least a timestamp. So,
okay. So it seems like it could possibly be edited, which is just another weird thing. And like, if so, the texts are so specific that it goes to show that if all of this is true, this person is a very deeply embedded pathological liar who is addicted to the specificity that comes with building a false identity. And this Jennifer Bass person had apparently been caught up in faking identities in the past. Also, some people who were reportedly friends with her, at least online, her contacts and people through X, said that she claims that Hannah has claimed to be really good friends with the head of Apologia and Pastor Jeff Durbin. He's the pastor at Apologia Church and head of Apologia Studios. He's been on this show before. She said that she was really good friends with Jeff Durbin, that Jeff Durbin had been to her house before, and that he had, apparently she made this really weird claim that Jeff Durbin came to her house and ate all of her kids' snacks. Well, Jeff Durbin says, who is this person? What are they saying? This would be news to my wife and I, he says. I don't know who this person is. I've never stayed at her house and eaten her snacks. I don't stay at other people's houses. I don't know what to be more offended by, the claim to know me when I don't know you, or the claim that I cleared out a bunch of poor children's snack cubbies. So very odd there. Also, some conflicting information. Hannah claimed to have 14 children, 1 stepchild, and 13 adopted children. Well, that's also strange, but she gave conflicting reasons for not having biological children. Like, again, strange, looking at the post that conflict, because she also said that she never had an epidural, and that she never she never struggled in getting her figure back. Well, yeah, that is, if you never actually have a child, then of course, maybe that was sarcasm. It's just very strange. But Abby Libby and this girl named Lizzie, who say that they were close to her, say she claimed to be infertile. At one point, she told me she was pregnant, and then a couple months later, she miscarried. Lizzie says she told me she had a hysterectomy because of abuse by her father. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. And now the question is, like, why does this really matter? Does it really matter that this person was apparently faking this entire persona? Well, one, she was mentoring women. She had influence over women, and women listened to her. And women maybe even compared herself to her, or felt that they had to reach her standards of what it meant to be a godly wife and mother. She built a brand upon having a large family with one income and claimed they made it work. And again, she set these standards that weren't even real. And the worst part of it is that she used Christianity to spread her lie. She used the gospel. She used scripture. She used her faith to try to push the idea that the only way to be a godly biblical woman is to be her version of a patriarchy woman. And again, also, it's just lying. Lying in itself will always cause damage. And especially when you say something like, oh, I've never had a problem losing weight after I had kids, when you didn't even really have kids. You also hurt people who are actually close to you, like some of these people who claimed to be her friends. Now I just want to talk about quickly her relationship with the Patriarchy Theo bros, and how she really was given credibility, and she was really given a platform and given followers because she was hoisted up by a lot of these men whose egos were stroked by her. And they now are distancing themselves, acting like, oh, it's no big deal. But the truth is they were deceived because they were gullible, because they were thinking with their pride and not with wisdom and discernment. That, of course, comes from fear of the Lord. So Dean Abbott pointed this out. He said, to illustrate my point that Patriarchy Hannah played up to the egos of the online patriarchy bros, here is a tweet where she tags a bunch of them as good sources on how to be a great leader. A few searches will show that Eric Conn routinely interacted with her on the timeline. So she tags people like Michael Foster, Zachary Garris. I don't know most of these people. Eric Conn and Joel Webbon, King's Hall podcast, all are good resources on biblical masculinity and leading well. Now, this in and of itself, someone who is supposedly a fraud suggesting someone doesn't in and of itself discount someone, but I am pointing out that she used their names and their platforms and their retweets and their replies to gain credibility and gain followers, all the while saying it's women who are so easily deceived and are so naive and gullible. Hannah also hosted two of these people, Eric Conn and Joel Webbon, on her podcast, Patriarchy Country. I truly think that this is like intentional. I think that she's trolling these people. I mean, it's just so silly. And I'm just like curious, did these men check with Hannah's husband before going on her podcast? Because these men have criticized me for having a platform. Now, it's interesting because a lot of these men, like, you know, people like Joel Webbon who have told me, you know, I shouldn't be on the, front lines of the culture wars. There's so many things with that. First of all, he has promoted Candace Owens' show, who is also a working mother. And also, a few years ago, Joel Webbon really, really wanted to be on my show, was asking to be on my show. I did not want to do it. Didn't know who he was. I gave him a 10-minute interview. It was fine and whatever. And I think we probably agreed on a lot of things, but I haven't changed since then. Like, I'm the same person with the same platform saying the same things. And now apparently I am some like secret girl boss feminist. You know, Eric Conn has made the same kind of comments, but both of these men went on Patriarchy Hannah's podcast. Again, I don't know. It's unclear if they asked if it was okay with her husband. I'm not sure. She said on the episode with Eric Conn, she wasn't sure if women should vote. Yeah, a lot of people say that. Eric Conn also talked about, interestingly, how his wife works, which is fascinating because I've been criticized for having a podcast that is outside of the home. Conn also said that women should not be arguing with men on Twitter using insults like heretic without addressing the issues through proper channels like their husbands and their church. Okay, what's funny is that I have never argued with any of these people on Twitter, but he and other men like him have repeatedly tried to goad me into a debate for attention. They've picked fights with me, with other women, even though I've never given them the time of day. And so they are extremely catty. They pick lots of fights. They get into lots of little arguments. And at the same time, they will be like, no, we're on the front lines fighting the culture war and women shouldn't be on here. Bro, it's a podcast, okay? It's a podcast. And one thing that women are really good at doing is talking. Hannah added, I would like not have a phone if my husband saw me on Twitter saying these things. I don't know. I'm not even saying they're specifically talking about me. I don't think I've gone around and like called them or anyone a heretic. That's just not typically a word that I use. But the irony here is that Hannah was insanely aggressive, or Jennifer, and rude online, way more than I've ever been. Like, these people are simultaneously more aggressive and cattier than I've ever been online, and they spend way more time online than I do. Way more time. These men that interact with her and other women do so for no other reason that I can see than to like boost their own egos. Conn also referred to me in the same sentence as Julie Royce, claiming that they see themselves, that we see that ourselves as the watchdogs of the church, which is just so funny that I would be included in the same sentence as Julie Royce, who literally hates me. Okay, let me pause and tell you about our next sponsor for the day, and that is Lumen. So Lumen is your handheld metabolic coach. You breathe into your Lumen device in the morning, and the information goes to your app about what your body is doing, if you are actually burning fat, and if you are really burning the calories that you need to burn, and your app will tell you what you need to eat, what kind of exercise you need to do. Metabolic health is like the key to your overall health. You get that in check, and really everything kind of falls into place. So check out Lumen. It is a handheld device that measures your metabolism by tracking the amount of carbon dioxide in your breath, and it gives you all kinds of personalized recommendations. It's really cool. Go to lumen.me/relatable for 20% off. Lumen.me/relatable. Joel Webbon also went on the Patriarchy Country podcast, and he talks about the nature of women and how they are more easily deceived. And I actually, I agree that women can be more easily deceived. I've talked about that. That's basically what You're Not Enough and That's Okay is about. That's what Toxic Empathy is about. That's really what both of my books are about in different ways. How women, because we are in a very, very good way, more emotional and more compassionate and see things through a more relational lens. That is our strength, but it can also be our weakness. And so I don't even necessarily disagree with that. It is ironic that you were being interviewed by someone who is not real while you are talking about women being more easily deceived. And why were you on this woman's podcast? Only because she was the cheerleader for all of these men on X. Joel said, okay, so in response to all of this, a woman lied. Therefore, feminism is true. Did I do this right? He's sarcastically saying that all of the people making these claims about the fakeness of trad patriarchy culture, that they're getting it all wrong. But that's a straw man. No one is saying that. I mean, maybe some people are saying that. I'm certainly not saying that. I'm not even arguing that because this person was fake, that all trad influencers are fake. I'm not saying anything against farming or making sourdough bread, of certainly not anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mom and all of those wonderful things. I freaking love being a wife and mom, and I am home so much the majority of the time. And I love all of those things. It's not to discount the truly biblical life. It's to say that so much of this so-called trad world, it's fake. It's an aesthetic. And a lot of these people are using it for a platform. They're using it for fame. They're using it for money. And it doesn't actually reflect how they live their lives. Now, maybe some of it is really genuine and really sincere, but I guarantee you, Hannah Patriarchy is not the only one that is a total fraud. It might not be identity theft by all of these trad influencers, but it very often is true that their online life does not at all reflect how they really live. Pastor Tom Buck pointed out that Webbon did not platform Hannah on his show, but he allowed Hannah to platform him. Buck added that this was similar to how he was on Relatable, but then tried to distance himself later as it became quote unquote problematic. And so that's the deal. That's what happened with Hannah Patriarchy. And some people have some really good commentary out there, like my friend Samuel Say. Joel Webbon has also had words to say about Samuel Say. Samuel said, Patriarchy Hannah isn't the only trad wife with a fake online persona. She's an extreme example, but it's obvious that some trad wife influencers are just cosplayers, taking advantage of desperate women and men with weird fetishes. There are some good trad wife influencers, but many of the trad lives you see online are performances, not real life. Completely agree. The irony is, in all of this, is that Hannah, or Jennifer, while she was calling me a girl boss feminist, she, single and childless, was spending her days stroking the egos of married men online while I was at home breastfeeding my third child and probably making my husband a sandwich out of sourdough bread. That's the irony in all of this. So here's a lesson that I have for you. Focus on your obedience to Christ. You focus on being a biblical woman based on what the Word of God says. You abide by Ephesians 5. You abide by the precepts that are set in Scripture for you, and do not worry about what any of these trad accounts say is the standard for biblical womanhood. Okay? Because most of these people are completely and totally fake. Thankfully, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And he will never deceive you. He will never disappoint you. He will never let you down. He is who he says he is. He is real. And he has freed you from the unbiblical and unfair standards that are set by human beings. Also, another good reminder is that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So is the love of power. So is the love of prominence. These are the roots of all kinds of evil. And I encourage you to lead as much as you can. Doesn't mean that you can't have any kind of public platform. It doesn't mean that you can have no voice, but we should all strive to lead very normal lives. We should, as far as it depends on us, get married and have kids and go to church and do normal things that no one ever sees and that no one ever hears about and that is not turned into content and that is not monetized or commercialized in any way. Now, again, I say that as someone who has a platform that I feel that God has called me to and that he has equipped me to steward, hopefully for his glory. And as long as he calls me to that, like I will be here doing that. But even in this, I strive by the grace of God to live a very normal, real, private life. And I think a lot of this craziness and deception would be avoided if we focused on that. You focus on living a biblical life according to God's word, and he will take care of the rest. All right, let me tell you about our last sponsor for the day, and that is Jase Medical. Jase Medical is an emergency supply of medication to have on hand in the event of an emergency or when professional medical help is not readily available. We hear a lot of talk about the supply chain, that it's unpredictable, it can be very fragile. So when your medicine is delayed for weeks, what are you going to do? You need to make sure that you have an emergency stash, a Jase daily case of medication, of prescriptions that you rely on a daily basis. You should also get the regular Jase case, and that is an emergency stash of antibiotics. You can add on things like an EpiPen or Tamiflu. If ever you need it, these things can be life-saving. And you can also get a Jase Go case. That's a travel case of emergency medical supplies. It's just so much better to be safe than sorry when it comes to your health and your family's health. So go to jase.com, enter code Allie at checkout for a discount on your order. That's promo code Allie at jase.com. Okay, guys, so I told Bree that if this took 40 minutes or more, then I was not going to talk about Ashley St. Clair and Elon Musk today, that I would save it for the next day. So that's what I'm going to do. We decided to give you Patriarchy Hannah today, and the Elon Musk episode will be tomorrow. And gosh, it was really difficult to make that decision because there's just so much, and I really wanted to do both in one episode, but this would be a whole other hour because there's also so much to say about that. And gosh, I've got a lot to say about everything that happened over the weekend with Elon Musk, and also so many different hidden connections and pieces of drama. And we will try, if we can, to put that episode out earlier tomorrow, so that you can have it, because I know everyone has been asking me to talk about both of these things. So first we went with Patriarchy Hannah. Tomorrow we will talk about Elon Musk and Ashley St. Clair, because oh my goodness, there is so much there and just so much to discuss, and it really, really matters. All right, that's all we've got time for today. We will be back here tomorrow.